Hi, I'm Roberto Martinez and you're watching Toffee TV.
Welcome back to Toffee TV. It is me, Ped, it is Baz. We are in the Winslow. We're not talking about Everton, which is weird, but just thought we'd start making a few more generic videos, see what the kids are talking about. MLS this week started. First home games, or first away games, whatever, first games.
First games.
I think it's this is the 20th season, so it's a big season. New teams in it, new excitement, new TV deals, new badges on kits, new everything, and a lot of new players, which a lot of us will already know about. In terms of the MLS, number one, should we care about the MLS?
I care.
Okay.
I suppose it's a personal choice, isn't it? I think we've always said that if America get it right, soccer-wise, they could do very, very well. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, people who follow football, love football, should care. I think the interest grown.
So, I mean, if you think about it in terms like that, then it should bother us. It should matter about for us, shouldn't it? Because if America gets it right, and I know there's a massive interest in America already, but if they get it right at home, then it might even mean Premier League gets even bigger over there, and therefore more money coming our way for, TV deals and all the rest of it. And I think in that one way that could really help the Premier League and help clubs like Everton.
Definitely. I mean, it's all about building the world game, isn't it? And if you've got a country the size of America who fully buy into it and make it bigger, then obviously you're gonna get benefits, far-reaching sponsorships, advertising, everything else. The interest in the Premier League will grow. And we want to see it reciprocated. We want interest from these shores back across the Atlantic.
Now, obviously, one of the things, I mean, for us certainly, is there's a new TV deal basically. Now, I know it's been on BT before, but you never really knew what was going on with them, whether they were going to have games on it. They only had certain games on it because they had a certain deal with one TV company over there or whatever. They only carried one set of games where it was on 2 TV stations in America, but Sky have got the full whack. I know a few years ago when Beckham went over there, Channel 5 tried to do it and they tried to have a weekly highlights programme, but obviously they're just a TV channel, whereas someone like Sky Sports can really look after the package. And a new company has gone in and sold the rights to them, IMG. We're quite a big company in terms of football and sports around the world. They cover all the packages for Premier League around the world, and those programmes, Premier League World and things like that, they do all that. So they've got hold of it and they're packaging in a certain way. That'll means that we'll get all the games, and Sky are going to cover a couple of games a weekend. But a little tip is Sky Bet. You can get all the games on there. Basically, you can get them all on there. So if you want to watch all the MLS games, you can get them on Sky Bet, and you don't even have to pay for that. So that's quite interesting if you want to watch a lot of MLS. So that's going to make the game bigger, obviously, and with Lampard going over there, with Gerrard going over there, with Sean Maloney going over there. See, you didn't know Sean Maloney had gone over, did you?
Yeah.
Chicago Fire. He's gone over there.
I did not.
There's going to be a lot more interest as well, isn't there?
Definitely. I mean, watched a couple of star names last night. I think just touching on your first point in terms of Sky Sports, they've done a good marketing job with the Premier League, whether we agree with it or we don't agree with how the game's changed over here. To get those games in our living room packaged in the way Sky done it. I mean, there was back-to-back games on last night, which is fantastic, certainly for someone like me that loves watching footy late at night. Absolutely outstanding, and getting it across the pond and into our living rooms, it's great, and our interest will grow. Having players like Steven Gerrard going over there, Frank Lampard going over there, Sean Maloney going over there, that's going to attract more supporters this side with a keen interest in how they do over there. Great for their league to get players coming over to the United States from the Premier League, which is obviously most watched league around the world. So it's fantastic. I think that the key for me is we're seeing players of a certain age still going over. Now, okay, 2 players last night, Kaka, 32, David Villa, 31. So obviously they're a little bit younger. The key for me will be when someone like Lionel Messi at 28 chooses to go over there. Now, I think the one thing they've got to shake off is it's a last payday or an easy, going there for an easier ride. If they can shake that image off, it's going to be
I think
fantastic.
what they need to do, and I know they nearly went on strike this week because of the way the league works and the way everyone's paid to the league. I think average players, or what we presume as average players, need to be paid much better, because what happened in the Premier League, I mean, around 96, 97, the Premier League was seen as the same thing, wasn't it? It was seen as a retirement home with a lot of aging players coming over here on good wages, and what's happened as the TV deals got bigger and bigger is we've got better and better players on more money. So we got the best of the best, and we're still getting quite good players. I mean, obviously we're still losing quite a lot to like Real Madrid and Barcelona, but we still get the cream of the crop, and we also get better average players as well. So it takes the standard of the league further up. And I think what we seen last night when we watched that game was certainly the Orlando versus New York game is that you had Kaká on one side and you had David Villa, and then you had a massive drop off. You didn't know half of the players. There was a lot of poor players out there, which is fair enough because there were 2 teams that are basically starting in the MLS. Orlando have had a few years playing in the lower leagues, and they came from Austin. They were the Austin Aztecs and then moved to Orlando. So there is that massive drop off. So you need to see the calibre of the lower players getting higher and higher. But as we mentioned, like Sean Maloney, he was a half decent Premier League player, and then you get more and more of them sort of going in and being filler players. I think that's what they need to do.
We've had Bradley Wright Phillips, who scored a lot of goals over there, haven't we?
Top goal scorer
for New York Red Bulls. You know, Sean. Couldn't believe Sean St. Ledger was on the bench. He's been around forever. But I think
Stephen Colwell's over there as well.
I thought Breck Shea had a very good game last night, to be fair. He obviously didn't really. He obviously was a different game to me because he was very good. He was very good. Good left foot on him last night. I thought played really well. But you're right. Obviously, they had the kid Rivas up front who was quite pacey, but couldn't finish a plate of chips last night. But you're right. You've got to drag that level up a little bit, and the more of those players who maybe aren't top level players here can get clubs over there, and it's not just about flooding that league with average players, but if you can get a bigger percentage going over there, just training with those players, then the lads who are just starting off in MLS or the kids who are maybe designated players there are the ones that bring that level up. But draft players who are coming in, everything, if you're training with better players, then say Orlando, for argument's sake, everyone who trains with Kaka will go up a level because they'll be watching how he lays it off, how he receives it, how he passes it, and that's how they can improve the league. I
think, obviously, Americans want the league to be full of good American players, but those players will get better by having a better standard of player around them. You're absolutely right.
The other thing as well, obviously, is young American kids growing up, seeing players like Kaka, Steven Gerrard, Lampard, David Villa, will want to play the game more and will want to get techniques right. And if they start getting the techniques right at 6, 7, 8, 9, they then grow to be good footballers.
A lot of these kids have probably only seen some of these players in like FIFA and things like that. Control them in a computer game. So have them in their team will be massive for them. So I mean that's a big thing. That's obviously why Sky have opted to try and take it. And obviously there's the betting element as well, because a lot more people bet on games with players they know. I've
got a friend of mine lives in Pasadena he's from Liverpool. He's a big Liverpool fan now. Obviously his team is LA Galaxy, so he's got a couple of American kids, and they watching Steven Gerrard on the telly. Now they're going to be able to go and see them. That's really piqued their interest ahead of the. Of course,
all that helps. But as I say, I think trying to get those average players, the better. And don't get me wrong, those average players have gone up considerably in the last few years, and I think the MLS are doing a decent job of the way they package it all now as well. I'm watching it over here. It all looked quite shiny, and it had that Premier League thing about it. And this year they've got all the new badges, and it's all starting to get that sort of like Premier League shine.
The brand, isn't it?
The brand, and which is what you would expect from America, to be honest. You'd expect that brand to be right. I think that's half the battle sometimes. If you get the brand right, and you get less, like the outside shiny, the packaging right. What's actually inside doesn't always have to be brilliant. You can always be seduced by that.
It is, it's still a minority sport, you know, baseball, American football, things like that, but it's growing, and there was 62,000.
Well, that's what I want to say. The Orlando versus New York game, there was 65,000 or just over, which made it, I think, the second highest footy game attendance in the world over the weekend, behind Barcelona. So that just proves that Seattle's wasn't that far behind. They get great numbers, although DC United, theirs was only 11,000. But the average attendance in the MLS over the weekend was 25,000. So it is a fantastic spectator sport. I mean, what I'd say about the DC one is their stadium is an absolute dump. I mean, it's actually a joke within the MLS sort of thing. Now, if you go there, you'll be hit by falling concrete and stuff when you go. But they're getting a new ground, and everyone's getting new grounds. And teams that were older teams are getting rebranded now to look more, to fit more within the brand, and they're getting rid of all those stupid quirky names, like, you know, Kansas City Wizards are now, you know, proper like American stupid names now. You know, Sport. Whether you think it's not better or not, Sport and KC.
Yeah, but there's obviously they're trying to create derby matches. Everything's going through an overhaul. They're trying to, you know, like you say, the repackaging it, rebranding it. The interest peaked. Yeah. I mean, we've talked on various things about Orlando. This is going back a few seasons now, but we were saying if Orlando can get a football team, given the tourism element there, and how many Europeans holiday there, how many Europeans work there who love football, they're in the perfect place to grow. You know, to constantly get big crowds. I'm in Orlando in August. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know whether I'll have anyone to go to the game with, but
and they've got an Evertonian at the helm, Agent Eve, as well, so that's good.
And
for
we're going to be doing it.
We'll be doing the commentary there, and but I think it's definitely a better. The only thing I would say about the MLS, and again, I'm being very Eurocentric here, and if anyone's watching America, they'll just be going, what's it got to do with you? I'd say the only thing from the outside looking in, as a Eurocentric kind of person, is the season's too long, and then they have the playoffs. Because I think what tends to happen in MLS is it starts off like with all excitement, and then you get near the middle, and for whatever reason, because it goes through the summer, there's either a World Cup or there'll be some kind of championships, and it all slows down, and it all just goes a little bit, you know, array for some teams, and then it kicks back off again, and you're going into the playoffs then, and what you find is teams that are way off the pace can still get into the playoffs. So actually the season doesn't actually start till you get to like August, even though it started in March, and that's the only thing for me. It's like, we're in the Premier League, nearly every game counts for something towards the end of the season, because obviously there's no relegation in the MLS. You get to August and everyone's still got a chance in those playoffs, so you feel like half the seasons doesn't really matter.
But they'll say, I suppose the kind of flip side to that will be that they say that there's an interest there throughout the season, isn't that? Whereas obviously, you know, here talking about the Premier League, of course you've got relegation and people are fighting against that, but teams in the middle have got nothing to, not going to get into Europe, not going to go down, there's nothing to play for. In MLS, of course, there's stuff.
I agree with what you're saying, but the only problem is, and I know it's a big American thing having playoffs, but you look at something like the NFL, that's only a 5-month season, so it's quite compact, and then because of the toughness, whereas in baseball it's a very, very long season, but I think
basketball's long.
The playoffs seem to last forever. I think what they maybe need to do in the MLS is, I know they've got one cup, which is like the national cup, like the FA Cup. Anyone can go in and who's at a certain standard. And I know they have the Champions League, which, you know, will end up being in the World Cup champions. But that's at like its quarter-final, semi-final point now. Maybe they need to introduce another cup in it, just for the MLS teams, maybe, just to make the season a little bit more, to have something else to go for. I just think at certain points in the MLS, it drops off because actually there's too many games and there's not enough, you know, to go for. As I say, I still feel that you can get to the end of August, be bottom of the league, and still be able to reach the playoffs with no problem. I mean, there was a season a few years ago and I can't remember the team, but someone will tell me, where a team only kicked up a run late on and ended up winning it, and their winning record was like they had more losses in the season than they had wins. And it's almost like the championship, where if a team peaks late, gets in the playoffs, and then because they're still on that run, they get in with the momentum. I think Crystal Palace did it a few years ago, didn't they?
I think it is. There's little tweaks like that to be made. I mean, we've spoken before. I know they're not, you know, they don't love relegation over there, because obviously then you could look at the introduction of a second, you know, Division 1 or whatever you want to call it, and have promotion and relegation. That would pique the interest, obviously, because you've got something to go throughout the season. Whether they would do that given the standards and the levels they've got to be at and the money is obviously a different thing. So you are looking at maybe either reducing the season a little bit to keep it. I mean, there's 20 teams now, so obviously, you know, play each other twice, 38 games. You know, that's a lot of games. Talking a crazy amount of games, aren't you?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe reduce the amount of games played or whatever, and introduce another cup, just to give. Because the cup competition, no one really takes.
No, it's a bit.
They don't really take it that seriously, which just annoys me. Because the MLS, if you think about it, it is called the MLS. The team that wins the league gets a supporters shield, which New York won a couple of years ago, and then ended up like losing in the playoffs after like a couple of games. So it doesn't mean anything. It's very much like our rugby league. So maybe introduce another cup that people are going to take really seriously, because it just feels like it peters out. And I think that's the only thing they have to overcome, because listen, we're not trying to dictate to any Americans, but if you want to grow your league, you're going to need a lot more scope around the world to make it a bigger league. So that's how you make bigger and better leagues.
I don't know whether you can have like kind of the ultimate champions if you then go into it. If you can finish 5th in a table and then win it, it kind of devalues it. I'd like to see a more European feel to it personally. I'd like to see play each other twice. There's 20 teams, 38 games, you win it, but then have 2 cup competitions.
But then you'd need if you're going to do that is you'd need to somehow introduce relegation, because the big fear in America is this has always been the fear, because the league was growing out of nothing, was that if you got to the last few weeks of the season, or you got to any point of the season and there was a team that were miles off, which happens because of so many new teams, that the interest would drop off for them. So they want everyone to be interested. Now we have that in this country with obviously relegation, winning the league, finishing in the top 4 for the Champions League, and obviously also because each place has money. It's not necessarily the case. So maybe they need to introduce another cup competition to break it up a little bit, or I don't know, something that keeps everyone interested at the end of the season. But I don't necessarily think the playoffs, because I think my big problem is you can be rubbish for the first half of the season, get to August, and then have a go.
Well, what about having something like you play that full season out, the champions are the champions, and then 2 to 7 playoff to keep a playoffy feel? Because imagine winning it up to the playoff thing, so you by far the best side, and then like you've just said, you then draw someone and get beaten.
No, it doesn't. I know it doesn't make sense to us. It is a very, very American thing, playoffs, and they see it's the big thing, and they always want a final big game. They always want a big final game.
You could have that with a cup, couldn't you? Or you could have their Champions League things where the winners go in it, and the person who wins this shield or this cup or whatever, they go in. So the 7th place team could get into that Champions League thing.
Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think on the comments and on Twitter at ToffeeTV1. Let us know how you think the MLS can be made better, or whether you just think it's rubbish. Just let us know. Also, any players you'd like to see in it. One player who I think could go over there and do very, very well.
Tim Howard.
Sylvain Distin. I think he could go over there and do very, very well. I think he's still very, very fit. I think he's still very, very competitive. And I think he could go over there. Montreal Impact. Speak French. Happy days. I think he could go over there and do very, very well, because that's the one thing they miss over there is good defenders. There's a lot of... All players they take over are obviously attackers.
I think
And that's the one thing I think they miss is decent defenders. And I think something like this time, you know.
I think and I think Gareth Barry's another one I think who will do, who when his time's up at Everton, I think I could see him going and having a stint over there for maybe 18
But I think it's getting better and better. The quality's getting higher and higher. Let us know. Don't forget, get in touch with us on the comments on Twitter. Let us know who you support. Listen if you think we're totally wrong and you think if you think the standard's great and we're talking nonsense, or if there's any way you think they can improve it, or there's a guy out there in America and he's like the single voice for relegation, and anyone who's American will probably know the fact Ted, his name is, he's proper. He just
can't wait for relegation.
Even somehow managed to get a plane to fly over one of the games last season with a banner on saying about relegation. He loves it. He's proper into it. Let us know your thoughts, how they can improve MLS. We're happy to keep watching it. We love it. We like watching players past the sell-by date, but playing against crap players like Brek Shea any day of the week. Right, this has been Toffee TV. We'll catch you next time.